Hi there, it's Vanessa, the Wellbeing Being. I just wanted to talk to you today in a more real way about the painful part of grief. And I wanted to share a metaphor with you. I love metaphors. So, the metaphor is the metaphor of the storm. We're having a storm on Vancouver Island, and I am out walking because we're in the eye of the storm. There was a storm yesterday, and I also walked during the eye of the storm. So, I find the metaphor of grief and the storm pretty obvious. I mean, for me, when my son died, it was awful. I didn't know what to do. I was in a world of pain, just a world of pain. It was a hurt locker, spiritually, emotionally, physically. Oh God, the physical pain. Yeah, and so I'm 15 years past all that, and so I can talk about my loss and look back and say, what was what and where I was back then, and I've done a lot of really hard work and studying and research to get to where I am, to know and to be okay. So I share my stories with you because there is no magic bullet, but there is your way. You'll find your way through this. And I share my stories, as I say, because I hope that you can find some inspiration in my honesty around how it was for me, because people don't really talk about it. And I don't talk a lot about this stuff with people. It's just what I've been through. I write about it. I've written extensively about it, but conversationally, my grief is not really dinner conversation. So the metaphor of the storm, the storm is really, really raging when you first lose your child. And how long is that storm going to last, before you'll get to that eye of the storm where you can have some rest and where you might feel a little bit, uh, you know, of peace, because it does come. You'll get there, it'll hit you, and you'll think, oh my God, here I'm having a moment, and I feel, maybe some joy, maybe some happiness, and then the storm will come back. And that's the nature of the recovery from grief for a bereaved parent, is it really comes and goes. And it takes a long time. And so I wanted to talk to you about the timeline, if anyone's ever spoken to you about it. And from my experience, it takes about 4 years before you get to that place where, maybe you can feel authentically some peace in a way that you can hold on to, I guess. I'm not trying to discourage you, but I don't want to candy coat it for you either. That first year is awful. You go through the first of this, the first of that, all the way to the first of their anniversary of their death, which is an awful day every year for me still, 15 years later. I don't like that day. I try to make my best of it, but it's not a good day for me. Even on my son's birthday, I hide from the world. I do things for myself. So that first year goes by, and for me, I thought, I looked forward to the second year because I thought I'd be better. People seemed to think I would be better next year. Or, it was just this sort of myth, I guess. And then the second year was worse because I wasn't better, and people seemed to think I had moved on. And that was really hard for me. So the second year was a really lonely, really hard time. And the third year, and that was when I reached out to the Compassionate Friends. And in the third year, I started to feel more relief, but still not. I didn't know who I was. I'd lost myself. I didn't know who, my sense of self was gone. My groove, my good feeling, everything that I knew about how to cope, it just all left. And so by the fourth year is when I started to feel a little bit more comfortable in my skin again, and a little bit more like I had a handle on myself, and a little bit like I had the strength and the spirit to actively seek the light. So that's just a little bit about the timeline for me. And I also wanted to share, you know, the storm can come back. And the storm for me at first was scary. In my early days of the grief, I didn't know how to make it stop. And so when the storm would stop, I would be grateful, but I would be fearful when the storm would come back, that I wouldn't be able to make my way through it. I didn't know how long it would last. So, but it always ended. You come around. And after that fourth year, you're pretty much guaranteed to have it go shorter and shorter and shorter. Depending on how committed you are to really allowing yourself to find your way through your grief. Nobody's going to do it for you. I wish I could do it for you. I'm just that kind of person. But this is the best I can do, is offer you, what I did and how it was for me in the most authentic way. Because I want you to survive. And if you're in that early stage where it's just a hurt locker, my best advice is take it day to day, survive, do whatever you have to do, just survive day to day, and take really good care of yourself and love yourself through it as much as you can. I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I really, you know, I wish it wasn't so for all of us. But here we are. Nobody asks us, would you like to have this happen to you? No, they don't. It just happens. So I'm sorry for your loss. I know I've said that already, but I hope that my metaphor of the storm is somewhat helpful. Yeah, I've just lost my partner of 4 years, and so the storm is back for me a little bit here and there, which of course made me think of sharing my thoughts around the metaphor of the storm with you guys. So best wishes. Speak to you soon.